So, Seahawks, how's Geno Smith working out? The Denver Broncos have hired former Saints head coach Sean Payton, baby. We're holding.
What the hell is pimento cheese?
Tom Brady has announced his retirement from the NFL. For real this time. Come on, kick the field goal, take the points. Win the game.
No, you have to say that.
See you later. On Ruffing the Passer Show talks football, miscellaneous stuff, and mostly football. I'm your host, Sam Ruffing, and this is episode 87 of Ruffing the Passer. And as of yesterday, the Los Angeles Rams have found another replacement for the season for Matthew Stafford in quarterback Carson Wentz, which is certainly strange, to say the least. Sean McVay has signed yet another highly drafted quarterback to start for his Rams team, this being the fourth one that's either been a second overall pick or a first overall pick. And I'm not sure how I feel about it. To be perfectly honest, obviously Carson Wentz is a very talented quarterback. Sean McVay is a great offensive coach. But the last few seasons for Carson Wentz have been, well, nothing short of disastrous. He wasn't great in Washington. He blew it at the end in Indianapolis. And was terrible his final year in Philly. Also, it's a strange fit to see Carson Wentz, who's like, very country, outdoorsy kind of quarterback, play in Los Angeles. I don't know, it's just an odd fit to me. But that's one to keep an eye on, see where it goes. I don't think it works out great, but I could be wrong. What the main topic I want to start on today is the Buffalo Bills losing to the Cincinnati Bengals on Sunday Night Football. It was a rough week, a rough game for Buffalo. I mean, Josh Allen didn't play nearly as well as Joe Burrow. They lost Micah Hyde in the game, and they had a fumble late in the game. Josh Allen threw an interception. They had a holding call at the end that was missed, and they still only lost by 6. You know what? I'm not concerned about the Bills. Sure, you lost to Cincinnati, one of the hottest teams in the NFL, with one of the best quarterbacks in the NFL. On the road, on Sunday night, without Micah Hyde, without Matt Milono, without Tredaveous White, without Leslie Frazier as your DC because he left after the season last year. And obviously he wasn't the greatest postseason defensive coordinator, but he is a really good regular season defensive coordinator. And they only lost by, 6? I don't see any reason to be concerned, to be perfectly honest. I had the Buffalo Bills at this season being a 10-7 team, one that would take a step back because the devastating loss to Cincinnati last year, losing the defensive coordinator. I didn't really trust Sean McDermott. But over this season, I've grown to actually appreciate the Buffalo Bills a little bit more. Sean McDermott, I think, is actually trying to turn things around. Like, he's changing up his styles, running the ball more. They drafted a young tight end who looks amazing in Dalton Kincaid. And you know what? We've seen the Buffalo Bills be a great team before the last 3 years. They've either been the number 1 seed, they've never been the number 1 seed. They've been the number 2 seed 3 straight years in a row. Or 3 seed, doesn't matter. They've been great. And every year we're like, oh, they're going to go to the Super Bowl. Yet they reach the playoffs, they've had no adversity in the regular season, and they lose. I'm not too concerned about the Buffalo Bills. I mean, they've never faced adversity like this before. Like, when is the last time Buffalo Bills have been 5-4 to start out a regular season? I don't know, 2020, 2019, 2017, who knows? I don't know if it's happened in a very, very long time. And besides, it's not necessarily about the regular season, obviously. At the end of the year, it all matters is the playoffs and getting to the Super Bowl and winning the Super Bowl. Obviously. And I think the Buffalo Bills, compared to a lot of other teams in the AFC, are in one of the best positions to do that. 1. Josh Allen has yet to make a Super Bowl. Patrick Mahomes made a Super Bowl. Joe Burrow's made a Super Bowl. That's got to eat at him. That's got to make him be so mad and have him fight for that Super Bowl in the playoffs when it comes. Unlike last season, they should, knock on wood, hopefully, have Von Miller in the playoffs. The last 2 seasons, last 2 times he's been in the playoffs, he won a Super Bowl. Now, I'm not saying it's going to happen, but when he gets to the playoffs, something happens with Von Miller, and he turns things around. Just lights up every opposing quarterback on the line. It's honestly amazing. Also, the firing of Leslie Frazier, I think, well, not firing, the resigning of Leslie Frazier is probably going to be one of the biggest factors to the Bills being more successful in the playoffs come around. I mean, this man, in his defense, in his last 4 playoff games, allowed 29.25 points a game. That's horrendously terrible. Like, horrendously terrible. And obviously, Josh Allen's been great in the playoffs. I mean, just unbelievable. Just look at his stats. But one other reason I like the Bills, or I'm not going to worry about the Bills, their offensive weapons. Sure, they haven't been as productive on offense, but they're trying to change things up. I mean, they're trying to run the ball more, which they haven't done in the last 3 seasons. They have a young tight end who looks really promising, and they have great receivers. Kansas City has a great tight end and no receivers. Cincinnati has a great running back, great receivers, no tight end whatsoever. No offense, Irv Smith Jr. You're good, but you're not Dalton Kincaid or Travis Kelce good. I'm not worried about Buffalo if they reach the playoffs, but that's just me. Let me know what you think in the comments below. Another team we need to talk about are the Dallas Cowboys. They lost to Philadelphia on Sunday at 4:25 in what was one of the most amazing regular season games I've seen in a long time. It was a really good game, back and forth, down to the wire. Came down to the final drive where Dallas blew it right at the end. But even still, I was not expecting that from a Dallas Cowboys matchup, because usually that's always the most boring matchup you've ever seen in your life. Either they're good or the other team's good, and there is no in between. That or any interesting game is sucked out by the fact that it's the Cowboys. Not again. But this matchup was really good. But once again, Dallas came up short in a crucial situation against a better opponent. And I'm just not even sure what the problem is anymore. I thought it was Dak Prescott, because every time he faces a great team, he shrinks, kind of like Kirk Cousins. But he didn't do that this time. He threw for 380 yards and 3 touchdown passes. He played pretty much flawlessly. Mike McCarthy, I think, played pretty well. Coached pretty well. They just had a few mistakes, like Dak Prescott running out of the end zone, stepping out of bounds on the 2-point conversion. And then Jake Ferguson being 6 inches short of the goal line. And I don't think it's Mike McCarthy who's really the problem there either. He's been a guy who's won a Super Bowl. He has a great coaching regular season record. He's won games with Brett Favre, with Aaron Rodgers, now Dak Prescott. 3 different style quarterbacks. And he's won everywhere he's went. He's kind of like an underrated Sean Payton. I don't think it's him. He's the problem either. I think the problem in Dallas is just their mentality. It's like when the game gets close and you need someone to make that special play, to be physical enough to just defy all laws. Dallas never seems to go all in. They never seem to do that one thing, that one game-changing play, that one defining thing. They never take the massive risk, aggressive play. It's always good enough until they face something great. It's kind of like the Cowboys as a franchise as a whole, really. They're always consistently good or decent. They usually make the playoffs, but they never go far. And I think if Dallas is going to get over that hump and become one of the great teams in the NFL yet again, they got to be more aggressive. They got to make those trades at the deadline, Jerry. Dak, you got to step up in the big moments, take a hit, take a shot, make the big throw. Mike McCarthy, you need to call a more aggressive game. What's the most aggressive unit on Dallas that has been performing the best this season? It's the defense. Micah Parsons is aggressive. Trayvon Diggs, when he was there, was aggressive before he got injured. And that is obviously the best unit in Dallas. Well, maybe the kicker. Hopefully, he remains that way. But Dallas just needs that one extra play to step up, because I honestly thought that Dallas was going to win that game when they got the ball back. I'm like, shoot, Dallas is going to get another touchdown and win the game. But then Philly, the team that defies odds and is physical and makes that aggressive play and makes the play when they need it, won the game with all those sacks at the end. And that's what Dallas needs. They just need to make that play, and they'll be there. Another team that cannot beat any winning teams this year, the Miami Dolphins lost to the Kansas City Chiefs on Sunday morning in Munich, Germany. I guess it wasn't Sunday morning there. But even still, this is the third loss the Dolphins have had this season against a team with a winning record. Not even against a team that's been... wow. They faced 3 Super Bowl contenders. The Buffalo Bills, the the Kansas City Chiefs, and the Philadelphia Eagles, and lost all of them. And everyone wants to blame it on Tua Tagovailoa. He doesn't step up in big games. They want to blame it on Mike McDaniel. His play calling is too conservative. They're too fast. They don't have any physicality. But one person I'm not seeing get nearly enough blame is one D coordinator, Vic Fangio. He was the newest addition to this team this year. This was a team last year when Tua was healthy that beat the Buffalo Bills. They were almost beat the Buffalo Bills again in December. They were beating teams with winning records. That was before Vic Fangio got there. Heck, they would have beat the Buffalo Bills in the wild card round had Tua been healthy. If it weren't Skylar Thompson starting. But they decided to fire their D coordinator, don't remember his name, sorry, for Vic Fangio, a guy who, trust me as a Broncos fan, has disappointed in pretty much every big game I've ever seen him in. If I'm going to be perfectly honest here, his games against Kansas City wouldn't show up. Games against the winning team wouldn't show up. Against the Eagles, when he had Teddy Bridgewater as quarterback, didn't show up. And then the Eagles hired him last season, before the Super Bowl, so they could have him, mentor their D coordinator to stop Patrick Mahomes. And guess what? They hired a guy. Guess what? The guy who couldn't stop Patrick Mahomes yet, who they thought would, lost the Super Bowl after allowing Mahomes in the offense to score 31. Obviously, there was a fumble 6 in that game. But even still, Vic Fangio also lost the Super Bowl as D coordinator with Jim Harbaugh. This guy allowed Nick Foles to score more points in his defense when he was with Chicago, forcing, Cody Parkey to try and hit a 46-yarder, which was tipped, and the double doink happened. I have yet to see Vic Fangio win a huge, massive game as a head coach or D coordinator, and it's showing here in Miami. Defense kind of lets up against Buffalo. They let up against Philly. They let up against KC a little bit in the first half at the least. Although if you want more blame on who was really at fault for that loss against the Chiefs, it's Tyreek Hill. He fumbled at the end. But I'm just saying, Vic Fangio has been the newest addition, and his defense hasn't showed up against big teams just like every year that he's been a defensive coordinator or head coach. But let me know what you think in the comments below. The Bears play on Thursday Night Football tomorrow against the Carolina Panthers. Now, Chicago has both of the first-round picks. They're obviously their own and the Carolina Panthers. Those picks are currently the 3rd overall for Chicago and the 2nd overall for Carolina, which obviously becomes Chicago. If Chicago loses, then the Cardinals have like a 1.5 game cushion or something with the 1st overall pick. So Chicago, it is absolutely paramount that you beat the Carolina Panthers tomorrow on Thursday Night Football, and what will probably be an absolutely horrendous game. But you need to beat the Panthers, and you need to secure the first overall pick. I mean, not even if you want Caleb Williams, but just the value there. You could trade, if you don't want Caleb Williams, if you think Justin Fields looks good, you could trade back and get probably 3 first-round picks. So it is absolutely paramount that the Chicago Bears win tomorrow's game. And if they do not, well, I mean, you'll still probably be doing all right. You get Drake May or Michael Penix. But I'm just saying, it would be way more valuable if the Chicago Bears win tomorrow's game. Assuming the Panthers don't win a game late in the year out of spite. But even more so because the Cardinals are indeed starting Kyler Murray soon. And obviously, I think Kyler Murray wants to win some games and make himself look promising to other teams in the future. Yeah. The Denver Broncos have a tough stretch of games coming up that are absolutely, once again, paramount that they win. They're currently 3-5. They're coming off a bye week. And now they're facing the Buffalo Bills, who are hitting the struggles themselves. If Denver wins this game, they'll be 4-5. And the games after that are Minnesota, who has really turned it around, Cleveland, Houston, there was one more really odd team, and the Chargers. Not to mention they have the Raiders left on the schedule, and the Patriots. The Broncos are in a great position here to get back to 500 and maybe make a playoff spot. Who knows? But it is important that they win at least 2 of their next 4 games, get themselves to 5-7, and look semi-competent by the end of the year, potentially a playoffs or a close miss. Give fans hope for next season. And maybe secure Russell Wilson's job for next year as well. So it's going to be interesting to see what happens for the Denver Broncos going forward in their next few games. Should the Seattle Seahawks bench Geno Smith for Drew Lock? Well, I don't know. The Seahawks lost to the Baltimore Ravens on Sunday, 3 or 6, I don't know. No, yeah, 6 to 30-something. 37, I don't know. It was a really bad game in which Geno Smith had a fumble and an interception for his 8th turnover in his last 4 games. Seattle's 5-3 at this point, but fans are questioning whether or not they should be starting Drew Lock now. And obviously, as a massive Drew Lock fan, I really want to see it happen. I want to see Drew Lock play for Seattle and light it up, win the Super Bowl. All that, okay, maybe not win the Super Bowl, but I would love to see Drew Lock suit up for Seattle and be great. But I'm just going to say it now. I don't think it would be the best idea to play Drew Lock. I know Geno Smith has been rough this year, with 8 turnovers in his last 4 games. But he's gotten you to a 5-3 record at this point. You're like half a game back from the 49ers in the division. I just don't see it. A reason to bench Geno Smith at this point and play Drew Lock. Although if they fall to 5-5, then yeah, you could probably just play Drew Lock. And honestly, I would really love to see Drew Lock, but no, I don't think it's time to bench Geno Smith. As much as I want to see it. Lastly, I need to get on to my Week 10 predictions for the NFL. Wait, nope. Yep, Week 10 predictions for the NFL. Which does make me incredibly sad because last week, Week 9, I went 4-11 in picks. 4-11. That's just not good. There were a lot of wild upsets that I did not see coming. But here we are. Anyways, Week 10 NFL predictions starts now. Panthers at Bears. Ugh. On Thursday Night Football. I have the Panthers beating the Bears. Okay. Colts at Patriots. In Germany. I have the Patriots beating the Colts. Browns at Ravens. I have the Browns beating the Ravens. That's a shocker. Texans at Bengals. I have the Bengals beating the Texans, although that should be a great game. 49ers at Jaguars. I have the Jaguars beating the 49ers. Interesting. Saints at Vikings. I have the Saints beating the Vikings. Packers at Steelers. I have the Packers beating the Steelers. Not so certain about that one right now, to be perfectly honest. Titans at Buccaneers. I have the Buccaneers beating the Titans. Falcons at Cardinals. I have the Falcons beating the Cardinals. Lions at Chargers. I have the Lions beating the Chargers. Giants at Cowboys. I have the Cowboys beating the Giants. Should happen. Commanders at Seahawks. I have the Seahawks beating the Commanders. Jets at Raiders. I have the Jets winning over the Raiders. And Broncos at Bills. I have the Bills winning over the Broncos. Well, this has been a great episode of Roughing the Passer. I thank you very much for watching. I do appreciate it. Hit the subscribe button if you like my content. Hit the bell if you want to stay up to date with all my uploads. Just hit the like button too if you really did like it. And share this with your friends and family. And for Roughing the Passer, I will see you later. Goodbye.